Hey, what's up, you guys? Christian here, and in this video, I'm super excited to introduce John. He's somebody I've known for quite a while, and he's definitely somebody you guys can learn from. So just want to introduce yourself, John, and tell them a little bit about your story. That'd be awesome.
All right, so as many of you guys know me, I'm Explorer. I have all the Explorer logos around here. So I started my Instagram career back in 2014, kind of professionally. Although, I had instances in which friends were telling me to download the app all back, dating back to 2012. Peer pressure, girlfriends, all this stuff. People just letting you know that, hey, why are you the only guy not on Instagram? And of course, at first, I only used it like just about 100% of people to posting photos of cats, of coffee, of, whatever I could think was my life and whatever I thought would be interesting, which of course, most people think their lives are interesting to post. And in the case, most people's lives aren't that interesting, but that's for another topic, in which what kind of content you actually post, whereas what's fake, and all the lifestyles that people are used to seeing online, which are totally fake.
People renting jets, leasing Airbnbs or fancy sports cars.
Yeah. I think that's the first symptom that Instagram marketer has. When we usually start very hyped, like, oh my god, I'm gonna post my gym routine and these pictures, and I'm gonna motivate so many people. And later on, you realize that you're only one of a million people already doing that.
A billion, sorry.
Totally, yeah, man. There's a billion users.
There's like a 1.2 billion active users right now, man, on Instagram.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I come from a time where we only were like 100 million users, which is still a lot, but can't believe it's grown an extra zero since then.
Yeah, but I'm sorry to interrupt you. Continue on about like how you started just posting things that normal people would post, and then you kind of moved into more of the marketing type of side because you saw the potential.
So I started posting my own content, but of course back then I had no idea what I was doing. I was all over the place. I didn't choose a specific niche. I think as most people, I think this is the general niche that everybody falls into, which is lifestyle and our daily routines, what coffee we drink, what pets we have, what streets we drive. And I started noticing a pattern. I'm talking about like 2013, 2014, in which I saw accounts posting only a specific type of photos. We didn't know what a niche was back then. We didn't know what a specific audience was. We didn't even know what audiences wanted us to post. But I started seeing all these way older travel pages than mine. They started posting only, really, really high quality travel photos. And then I was like, you know what? I think there's potential in here. And I don't see myself posting photos of coffee anymore, since I'm not a coffee influencer, whatever. And I switched. I, cleaned up all my feed. All the bad photos went away. All the personal photos went to a personal account, in which I didn't really care about anything except, sharing my real life, my everyday life. And I started posting only my best travel photos. But I'm talking about 2014 already, in which I was by no means a good photographer. I mean, I shot pictures with my iPhone 5S, I think, back then.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were by no means good, but you get hype, you get the comments. I remember the first time I got 100 likes, way back in time, 100 likes. I was like, yeah, man, I'm getting somewhere.
I'm famous.
Yeah, getting famous, man. And so my brother is a marketer as well. When I was talking with him about Instagram's potential, back then 200 million users was already so much that you already had to come up with brand new ideas, which was hard. You can't imagine how much harder it is now. But back then we were discussing like, how can I make travel photos more interesting? And we were discussing like, okay, let's take, for example, Paris. You see the Eiffel Tower, you post a picture, you want to get famous, you want to be seen, but there's a million photos of the Eiffel Tower already. And he was like, how many photos are upside down? I was like, none. What does that have to do with anything? And he was like, why don't you post those photos, all your photos upside down? Even though they may not be better and compete, people will see something different in their feed. You'll purposely make them turn their phones upside down so they can see the feed. We tried the strategy for 3 months. We see it didn't take us anywhere. We dropped it. And my first ever account was Mr. _ which is my last name.
Okay.
I totally dropped that. I left that for personal, and I started a travel page called Turn Around the World. That's how I started. And the purpose of the name was exactly to make people want to turn their phones upside down.
I'll put a screenshot up on the screen of what it looked like back then, because you actually sent me a screenshot from like the OG days, like 2015, man. I didn't even get on Instagram then. I didn't even know the feed looked like that, man. Like,
did you ever see Instagram with the blue layout?
No, man, I didn't. I got on Instagram in like 2017. Before that, I was really just used Facebook, like for friend stuff. And I had gotten into more of like the ads side for like Google and Facebook, like local businesses. So I ended up moving to Instagram in 2017, and I didn't see the blue layout or any of that. So it's completely like old school, man.
You are so lucky.
You're so lucky.
Yeah, Instagram resembled a lot Tumblr back then. And I mean, when I created my course, which is something I'll discuss later on, I knew religiously every number, every date in which a specific integration came into the app. Nowadays, it's like studying for a history quest. Like you remember everything, and 2 months later, you already forgot everything. That's what happened with me when I made my course. I knew everything about Instagram, but nowadays I have to go back to my own research to remember. It's so much information, and I don't even remember exactly when was the time when they switched from the blue layout to the blank layout to everything in white. Today, I just remembered when switching to the dark mode, which is way better in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the dark mode too. But I think the white space was just such a good decision. Like Google, like it's just so clean looking and people just really love it. It's easy on the eyes.
It's easy on the eyes and it's favored by everybody. It's like a neutral color in which most people will be okay with. Whereas with blue, it's so controversial. You know, people hate some specific shades of blue, people love others. And it was like a color that only probably half of people actually enjoyed. So they were like, why don't we use a color that people will be more okay with? So back then, there was no albums. You couldn't post more than one photo at a time. Video was non-existent. Live was non-existent. Scaling your photos, whereas to portrait or landscape was non-existent. So basically, you only had square photos. That's it. And there was a time in which you couldn't actually post 1080 by 1080 photos. So quality was worse than nowadays. Back then, Instagram really made us try to use more of their own filters. So it's like whenever you're scrolling to anybody's, account and you're stalking them, you go all the way back to the beginning and you see this transition into using more filters. I'm sure you've seen them.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, in which the pictures get darker and darker with like some vignetting. And that's because most of us were using all these Instagram filters back then. They are not so high quality, but the purpose of Instagram, the real purpose at first was to edit photos. That's Instagram's original idea. It wasn't a photo sharing app. It was a photo editing app. Most people don't know that.
I didn't know that. I originally knew it was a place to showcase photos, and photographers like picked it up really quick because of how like a big of a photo app it became and how fast. Yeah. So they started using it to showcase a lot of their work, and a lot of the big photographers now actually started way back then and back when it was just images. Of course, video is the future, so I mean they definitely made like the right transition, but that's crazy. I didn't actually know it was just like a photo editing app like Visco or something. If you know what that one, it's really common on iPhone.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, Instagram started creating the community so you could share the photos that you edited there. That's why I'm saying that they started with pushing out, so many filters so that you would be, encouraged to editing your own content there and essentially making everybody believe they were, shooting photos. And I mean, of course, this scenario doesn't fall into everybody. There's some really good photographers that also started back then. And I have many friends that started actually within the first iteration of Instagram. It goes way back to 2010, 2011, I think. Back to the point. So I run Explorer. I've run Explorer for almost 3 years. I started in 2016. Almost 4 years. And I also manage some very large Instagram accounts. I run my friend's Luxury World Traveler. It's about to reach 3 million followers by February. And that account is way older than Explorer. It started in 2012.
Oh, wow.
And as my friend's statistics show, because he started growing the account. It was so easy to grow back then. It was explosive and it was progressive, like at 30,000 to 200,000 each month, guaranteed. It was crazy. And I think is back then the layout was so different. There was a time where messages didn't exist either. What else? Well, just for reference. So some of the things that have gone from Instagram, have moved away from Instagram, is of course the algorithm capabilities that didn't exist before. So essentially, if you're into follow, which you don't have to, but it's there. It was way easier back then. I only used it probably 3 or 4 times on my first accounts, just to jump start them. And it's simply that when you're a marketer, that's usually the first strategy that you will come across to. I started with that. I saw that it wasn't scalable, that I got to a point where I was spending more time doing that than actually growing, and I switched to other strategies. But back then, the search button, it displayed the same accounts all over again. That's why the people that jumped into Instagram first got the largest so fast, because back in 2013, let's say, there was only 100 travel accounts. That's it, only 100, all with OG names, all posting 15 to 20 photos a day, growing 10,000 followers a day. It was way easier back then, even though there were less amount of people using it.
Yeah, just less competition, right?
Exactly. It all boils down to less competition. And back then, you stayed on top 9 of hashtags longer. You were on the discover page. Before it was called explore page, it was just the discover and search page. And it's like TikTok nowadays. Whenever you go viral on TikTok, usually on Instagram, you go viral for a period of hours to days, sometimes a week if you're lucky. Whereas on TikTok, that you can go viral a week after you posted, and you didn't even know you went viral. And even a month later, you still get interaction in that video. And that's how TikTok is working now, is how Instagram used to be before. So essentially, TikTok is how Instagram started. That's how Instagram grew. But yeah, man, during those days, it was so much easier.
In 2017, man, like it was so easy to grow. Like I told you in the PMs that like one time I power liked a post of a photo of me and it got like 20K reach, which is crazy because if you tried to do that nowadays, I mean, probably wouldn't even get like 500 reach. Yeah, I mean, it was so easy to grow, man. Reflecting back that like I would have, grown more accounts and done more, but I think that's always like the missing out type of feeling, like, oh, I should have done more.
Yeah, totally. That's the feeling I get every day. You have no idea how much I don't believe in regretting. I think that's a waste of time, but I wish I could go back, in time and tell myself to do more, just like you, because the potential was so much larger back then. I mean, OG names were a little easier to obtain, and they were more available. If you had ideas, you had a chance of being the first one to implement them. Nowadays, it's pretty much impossible. You have to be like a real genius to find something new to do on Instagram. But yeah, man, if I could go back in time and tell myself to grab at Microsoft and sell it to the company,
Apple, or like, you got to be careful with those ones because they actually can file trademarks, and then they just get it and you lose it. So it puts them in a tough place.
They can, but at the same time they can't, because they have tried with my name.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's crazy.
I used to own, the DJI, the drones, the company.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to own this name, the 3 letters, at DJI.
Oh, well, that's a tough one because it's too short for them to. So like if it was at Microsoft could do a trademark, but if it's DJI or something like that, it's tougher because it's so short and a random string of letters. I'm not like the trademark expert or anything.
Neither do I. And I'm gonna be fair. Microsoft is a way bigger company, comes from much longer back in time. It's a little unfair comparison, but just to let you know, I got my hands on DJI, and essentially I contacted the corporate, directors. And at first, I mean, I probably shouldn't be saying this online, but we were like discussing like what agreement we can, fall into. I was trying to see if they could give me like a sponsorship, and they were completely not interested. And they said that I had 3 days to give them their name, or I'll see some legal consequences, which never happened. And I mean, I literally kept the name until I unfortunately got it stolen from me. That's a personal story I'm gonna tell you later on.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a really, really awesome name, and they were easily obtainable, back in time. So yeah, that's the story about going back in time to telling myself to do other things. I wish I started my personal account earlier as well. I wish I had better ideas back then, but you can only wish so much because it's pretty much useless. The only thing you can do is jump into new platforms and start applying the same strategies all over again. And that's why we're going into TikTok, we're going to Byte. Funny fact, I messaged some Byte directors to get me my Explorer name on that app as well.
Yeah, that was crazy. You had a great Facebook post about that. To never give up. If you really want something, you can get it. And you went on LinkedIn, right? Is what you said? And you messaged somebody who worked there?
Yeah. So when I jumped into TikTok, of course, Explorer was taken from months already. And I registered myself as Explorer underscore something else, like just to resemble my name. And then I of course used the contact button, which just as on Instagram, it never works. Then I went into LinkedIn and I tried finding some TikTok directors and marketing directors and representatives. And to make the long story short, I eventually found the right person who directed me to my regional manager, and that's the person that. Fortunately, he was able to give my name. It wasn't easy. I had to file a lot of paperwork and prove that I actually have a company. If you go, hey, I want ads one, like they won't give it to you unless you own a company, called One, and you're established, brand. So it wasn't easy. And then fortunately, I got verified on TikTok as well, just 2 months ago. That's the post you're talking about. And it was tough because at first they are like, just like on Instagram, like, I don't see why you should be verified when you are not an actual public face. Like, you haven't been on movies, you haven't been like in other large publications. I mean, I've been on TV, I've been on radio, I've been in many places, but just not as important to justify these ads why I should be verified. But fortunately, I did my paperwork, and the true story is I've had a lot of Explorer copycats on both apps. So that's a true fact, and that helped me, claiming that I need to prove my audience that is a real me. So that's how I got it.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. There's some really crazy people out there.
The OG usernames, it's like these guys just set up these massive bot scripts to just do like ABC, ABD, ABE, and like just claim all of these usernames. And most of the time they just sit there inactive anyways. But it's crazy that you were able to get verified and get your username literally by sheer willpower, not some like inside connect or because there are people who have like portals and stuff to submit for this kind of things, and they have contacts that they can reach out to. And literally, if they're inactive, they'll just give them to you. They're only reserved for like the creme de la creme or the elite people who spend a ton of money on ads, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I would be against paying for that simply because, when you have a case when you know that you own something, that you deserve something, that you have worked, for years to build your identity, your brand, there's really no case in which you should pay for it when you know that it's yours, not by right, but it belongs to you. That name is what resonates with you and your audience. So that was my explanation to my regional TikTok marketer, that people already know me as Explorer, even in person. Like, I could show you, I don't have the box right now, but I'm sponsored by a couple brands, and they literally ship me they ship me boxes with Explorer on my actual physical address. So it's my address, and the name of the recipient is Explorer, like literally Explorer. Yeah. So it's not just an Instagram handle, it's a culture, and I've built a culture, this culture around my my identity, my face. So it was easy to get it on TikTok because I had the right reasons to do so.
I understand, yeah, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, man.
So you talked about how you got started with Instagram and just how it's changed over time. Can you talk a little bit about how you actually built up your culture and your page all the way to like 1 million followers? Were there any specific growth hacks or techniques you used? And can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. That's fun. So this is another fact. When I started posting travel photos on Instagram, and this is probably some advice you could apply into pretty much any business. When you are the customer and you find faults on somebody's business and you want to tell them to correct them and you know that they won't, you kind of just want to start your own and do it right?
Yeah.
So when I started my page, I got bothered by finding other photos from people that were posting photos from Mexico, and they posted photos from a specific beach. And I was like, okay, thank you for mentioning my country and the creating the honor, but if I'm enjoying the photo and the purpose of this is making me want to go there, you're not telling me the name of the beach. You're not telling me the actual geolocation of the place. You're not telling me any fact. How can I get there? And that's how I got started into, working on giving content to people for free. I didn't see a single dollar from Instagram in 2 years. Not a single cent. Actually, I had to pay money on ads. I had to pay money on my phone is a tool for me. So I have to always have the latest phone with the most battery capability, because my battery, I charge my phone 4 or 5 times a day. It's crazy.
Dude, I get it too. It's like a curse when you work on your phone, man. Like the low battery all the time. I always buy iPhones and like they have phenomenal batteries, man. It's just the fact that I use my freaking phone so much.
Yeah. People sometimes don't believe that you actually, this is my external battery. Charges my phone at least 7 times during the day. But people, some hardcore daily users, they run out of battery like twice a day, and I think that's still like amateur. Right now I'm charging my phone, for example.
You worked for 2 years on your Instagram page and you didn't even see a dime. You kept investing and putting out free content, tagging locations, doing things different that other people weren't doing in the travel niche, because they weren't crediting the photographers. They were maybe tagging the country, but not like the actual physical geolocation, right? Were there any other like methods you used to grow your account? Like when you got started, did you use shout outs? Did you use like power likes? I think you did say you had a merge at one point, right? Could you talk a little bit about that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So just for disclosure, so that I don't get in trouble with actual Instagram, in case any Instagram insider is watching this video, I legally merged my Instagram account, and yes, it is possible. No, you will not do it by yourself, and I'm speaking to the audience, not you.
No, I totally understand. Yeah.
It is feasible, but only to a very, very specific amount of people, and only for the right purpose. You can't just merge 2 personal accounts because you felt like it. It has to be under the right reasons, and they have to be brands. They have to be actual companies. So please don't ask us more to merge. So I'm just going to go very quick about it. I have 5 separate Explorer accounts. So the main account was Explorer, then Explorer _ something, then Explorer something, just 4 variations of Explorer. And my company got so big, I got so many messages over all the accounts that I was fortunate to ask my Facebook person, the representative that was assigned to me, because I run Facebook ads, and I asked him, is there any way I can actually, do this to merge accounts, because it's taking so much time for me to post on them, and all my business is all over the place. People think one of my Explorer accounts is a real one, that the others are copycats. I would like to have everything under a single umbrella. So under that excuse, I was able to do it. I'm not saying that just because you have these same reasons that you will be able to do it. In fact, if you don't know the right person, you won't actually find information about it online. So most people will, to this point, think that it doesn't exist. It does, but again, it's reserved for very specific people. So I merged the 5 accounts in early 2018, and they were like 200,000 one, the other had 60,000, the other 300,000, and so on. And I ended up with 872,000 followers. I still remember the number. And it's only natural that when you merge, you bleed a little that audience out, because some people are like, why am I following this guy? I don't remember following this guy. I'm sure that anybody to a point has gone into their account and wondering, why am I following this person? I don't remember that. And that's probably because maybe one of those accounts merge and you don't recognize that account because you actually never follow it. It's just you've gone into the pool of the people following them, but not by choice, and that's okay. So I lost a couple thousand followers. I dropped to 860 something thousand, and from there it was just a year of growing more and more and more until I reached 1,100,000 organically. So from 800,000 to 1.1 million, it was all organic. From there to my previous numbers, they were all organic, but in separate accounts. But at the end of the day, they were still all organic.
What is organic? Just posting with hashtags? Because you said you paid money on ads as well. Just define organic for the audience, because that means different things to different people.
Right, true. I think for us marketers, organic means reaching. I mean, you're right. There's like 5 variations of organic. I guess one could be organic means reaching your in niche people rather than reaching a broad audience that probably won't care about your business. Another meaning of organic could be not fake followers, which I think in our scenario falls into a lot. In that case, I mean pretty much all of those cases. I grew my target followers. I never bought fake followers. I never. I paid for ads to sell products, not to actually grow followers. I can't really tell you what kind of audience I got from that. But that's how I grew. I just use hashtags. I engage with a lot of people with, bigger accounts. And I'm talking about when I was 50K, I was talking to people 500K, and to me, they were like, religious figures. They were incredible. And they were so kind to help me out back then when they didn't ask for a cent. But I'm guessing that's because, again, there wasn't too much competition. So they didn't really care, like, oh, just another guy trying to figure it out. Whereas nowadays, people are trying to waste your time. They're trying to get free information, and it's not right that they ask it for free when it's cost you 5 to 10 years to learn for yourself. So I, just as we were discussing yesterday, we got helped by really kind people that instead of seeing us as a competition, they were like, more people into this business, means more business. So that's how I got to grow more, because I learned from established people. I engaged with them. They engaged back with me. And during the first years, I also engaged with my own audience. I went and liked their own photos. No matter if they had 10 followers and they were from a third world country, I engaged with everybody just the same. Of course, you get to a point where you can't do it anymore. It's not scalable. I think I only did that until I reached 100,000. To that point, I started not replying to every message. I started not seeing every photo that they sent me, even not replying to every business request. And that's only natural because you only have 24 hours in your day, and you have to filter out just like, people filter out other people every day. It's just a matter of, is this guy going to waste my time? No. Is this gonna make me money? Yeah. So it's just natural. And after a point, you just can't handle all the messages. You can't comment back on every person. Of course, you try. You can't go and like back or follow back everybody. I can't follow 1 million people anymore.
There's limits too, and plus, even if there wasn't limits, it's like you said, you're running a business, like you have other obligations, like, man, on top of that, you got to have a life too, outside of like the phone, and I can relate so much because I get so many people who are time wasters, and literally I just have a message I copy and paste that says, hey, you want free value? Here's my Facebook group link. If you're interested in paid consulting, that's great. Just let me know. Usually the people though who buy, like, they just hit you up first and say, hey, I'm interested in paying you for like an hour or something. So prioritize,
Yeah, you do have to prioritize. And in my case, in my niche, let's get into how I monetize, if that's okay with you. So key difference between YouTube and Instagram and all the other platforms. And I know that you know this, and I know that all marketers know this, but to the people that still don't know it, Instagram doesn't pay you for using the app. Even if you had 100 million followers, they won't pay you a cent. Even if they didn't pay you, they still don't send you like trophies and diplomas or like YouTube does. I wish they did. Otherwise, my wall would be filled with diplomas. Like an Instagram button.
Yeah, I know, like the silver play buttons and the platinum ones, and yeah, I know what you're saying.
I would love a diamond heart in here, like some Instagram related heart. I wish that was the case. It's rumored, and we'll get into that later, that Instagram will monetize later this year, but I can't say for sure.
Nobody.
Yeah,
really
I know, only speculation. But back to the point, on YouTube, it's easy to monetize as long as you have good content because the platform simply pays you for placing ads that your viewers will click on. Whereas on Instagram, you're all by yourself figuring out how to make money from it if you, that's your, that's your path. Since they don't pay you, you sell shoutouts, either you sell consulting or you sell traffic. And by traffic, I mean like posting links to a website that that a marketer pays you for, posting stories, or just posting content from other people that want the traffic reaching into their page. On Explorer, I switched from posting my own photos because they were simply not competitive enough to posting professional photography from really good creators, and I switched to a niche in which I started being a community rather than a person, in which I featured photographers. They sent me free content, and it made the perfect loop because as a travel photographer, you can't travel every day of the year to be feeding your people, 3 5 photos a day. It's impossible even for people traveling year long. So it was the perfect fit. People handed me content. I handed my audience content on a daily basis. It was really high quality content. And then I started getting messages from photographers. Hey, I'd like to get my picture posted as well. How much would you charge for them? And the first time I got the message, I was like, oh, okay.
Light bulb.
I think I just found it. And that's how I started with that. I would say less than 10% of the content that you see on Explorer is actually paid for, but rather most of these people are people that I really enjoying, their content. I'm fortunate enough that some really good photographers want to pay me for exposure. So that comes off as very organic. So we go back into what does organic mean? And that's photos on Explorer, content on Explorer that you may not necessarily know that I'm profiting with. That's what I feel organic ads would be. So that's how a way I monetize at first. Later, I started selling my consulting, my engagement. So by following specific people that I wasn't obligated to, but they were offering me money just to following them, and I was like, okay, that's free money. I will do that. Here's a fun fact, and this is like algorithm related. The more people you follow, the less powerful your account is. At least back then. I don't know if that still applies in the same term, but back then, accounts that follow 0 to 10 people had more power than accounts following 10 to 100. Giving one like had more power with one of those accounts than giving one like when an account that follow 1,000 people. And that's because the algorithm has a ratio in between followers to following, and essentially it's how celebrities work, that their follower to following ratio is absurd, and they get a million followers and they only follow 10 people, their manager, their families, and they're like a record label. So that's how it works. And with Instagram accounts, the same term applied. So at first I was like, okay, 5 people are paying me to follow them. And then I started noticing, okay, the more people I follow, the less engagement I get, the less reach I get. So I started also filtering out whom I was accepting money from, and I started not accepting those kind of payments anymore. And I switched into other ways of making money, including Google quizzes, in which people paid you, like companies like Bitly, they paid you for clicks. That's also a little profitable, but you have to have a really large audience, and you really need really good content, like a really good quiz based on the length on your fingers, how many years will you live, something like that. That's people love that stuff. And later on, I saw that selling shoutouts, you come to a point where you can only do one a day, maybe one every 2 days, and you don't want to overly saturate your audience because they can tell. And fortunately enough, I reached to a point where I was large enough that I didn't need to find people anymore. I'm proud to say that 100% of my business comes from people coming to me. I don't ever reach anybody, like at all, except maybe hotels that I want to stay in, but they don't pay me for that. But I come to a point where marketers or people asking for shoutouts or for consulting, they all come because they found me first. And, just a little of negotiation one-on-one. When people come to you first, you always have the upper hand. So that's, that's really good.
Yeah, I agree.
But then again, you can only sell so many shout outs. And then, as I was previously saying, I got to a point where travel companies, like products, hotels, resorts, like traveler related products like bags or travel insurance, even passport holders, everything travel related you can think of, they started approaching me and either paying for advertising for travel products or wanting me to be a sponsor of their products or apps or websites. And that's why I morphed from selling shoutouts to being a sponsored account. And nowadays I'm sponsored by like around 5 to 10 companies. I'd have to count them. Sponsors come and go all the time. Sometimes this is something very important. You have, when you work with sponsors, you have to work with someone you can actually relate to a product that you will actually use. And that's where the influencer business has gone down during the years, because influencers are selling products they don't even use. They don't even know how to use. They don't believe it. And that's, I don't know, like that's just, how could you call it? Having some character in the industry. You have to work with a company you believe in. I use the watches that I'm sponsored with. I use the brands, the logos. I work with this brand called Fayou Tech. They send me camera technology a couple times a year, and I actually use every product on a daily basis. And when you filter out your clients and you really want to work with the best and for the best reasons, your price goes higher in value and more people want to work with you, because you won't accept just anything to sponsor. And the end of the day, you have a responsibility with your audience. And if you're selling the wrong product, or if you're referring people to a product that may not necessarily work, if something goes wrong, they blame you as a marketer that recommended that product. So there's many reasons to only work with the right people, but choosing the right people, filtering out people that won't pay you, that won't lowball you, that's good for you in the long term, and that's good for competition in the long term. I can imagine, just like you, marketers telling you like, I will give you half of the price that you want because the guy next door does it cheaper and better. That's just competition,
Bro, I mean, 2 days ago, I got an email from somebody who's a proxy provider, and they offer me $250 to do a video plus 100 free proxies lifetime. But the truth is, like, they're just low quality data center proxies, and I'm not going to promote it, like, just because it's not something that I would use or I find value in. And I don't think my audience would either. So plus it's like, also, I just know cheaper options out there too, if I did want to get a bunch of data centers. So I think that's really important, because like you said, I don't want to say they blame you, but they lose trust, and your recommendation loses weight.
True.
Yeah. But you said you started with the shout outs, and then you started really moving towards brand deals to make money. When did the whole agency and consulting thing really kind of start for you?
When brands started approaching me, they wanted me to just use their products. And at the end of the day, I noticed a lot of faults in companies' marketing, like in-house marketing, that they were doing so many things wrong. And I was like, let's say, for example, yeah, I'll be sponsor of your your phone case. But before we start into that, I wanted to let you know that your Instagram is doing like some really weird things that you're not going to get the best results from. And they were like, what do you mean? I mean, like, doesn't your in-house marketer know that this is or that is wrong? And they're like, no, I have no idea. My Instagram marketer is a 45-year-old dude that, I mean, with all due respect, that they're new to online like influencer communities. And most companies are their marketing departments are run by people that most times don't know what they're doing. Even Fortune 500 companies. Just find Gillette, the shaving company.
Yeah.
And when we finish this call, just go on Gillette and Nissan. You'll see what I'm talking about. Companies that you probably already use, and you figure out that they're spending a million, even not $1 billion, just $1 million a year on Instagram marketing. And that's where I found my most profitable business, which is private consulting for mid to large companies, in which even though they have the resources, the finances, and the logistics to do a lot of big things, they still don't, because they're limited in their thinking. And that's where I come in with my fresh ideas, and the tricks and tips from Instagram and things I used to help them grow, not only like Instagram algorithm related, but also content related. And that's, for example, let's say you have a t-shirt company, and this is an idea I came with 2 years ago. Imagine a t-shirt company that is posting like blunt photos of their t-shirts just laying flat on a like in a flat surface, and they're just taking the photos. And I would tell the person, well, if I see the t-shirt but I don't see the face wearing it, I'll probably not imagine myself within that garment. And the same applies to, in women, to makeup, in jewelry, in earrings. And I've told so many clients to switch to using real mannequins, or even people if they can, because when you're using a product on Instagram, you have to imagine, you have to relate yourself to the brand. Don't take my word for granted. Just see Louis Vuitton on Instagram. They're crushing it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, also like Gary Vee talks about like the whole relating people. Like if you can go take like, for instance, an African-American model or an Asian model and then run ads towards only Asian people with the Asian models, or only African-Americans, or only white people, God forbid, whatever, ethnicity they are, like it'll just convert that much more because they imagine themselves in the product, and it's easier for them to imagine themselves in the product.
Exactly. Well, Gary Vee knows it, you know it, I know it, but you wouldn't believe how many marketers don't know it. And that's supposed to be their job.
Yeah. I mean, my first big client was a startup company with $2.2 million in funding. And like, you would be amazed at like what they had on their social media pages when we got started. Like it was the most unengaging content like you have ever seen. Like no captions, like just hashtags, like really basic stuff here.
Like, I know that feeling. I've gotten into work with 7-figure budget companies doing follow.
I mean, it could work, but like that's not the like that can't be your only growth strategy,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just to clarify, I'm not against follow. I think it has some really good properties in very sub-niche specific cases. For example, if you own a local restaurant and there is absolutely no way that you want followers from another city because that's pointless to them. Follow has some good examples in which they can be applied into. So I don't hate that method. I just think for my case and most people's cases, it can be seen as spammy, which we do see as spammy.
Even nowadays, man, it's just with like Instagram being really rough on automation and the follow method in general, like I really just think it's not really worth it unless you just want to do it manually just to get a page started and build up that momentum.
Yeah, so, or if you only want to steal somebody like your competitors' followers, if again, the only case in which I would use follow is if I'm a brick and mortar place and I have a certain interest in people from a very specific geolocation to reach out to me, or my competitor has done the job for me to finding the audience, and it's like very, very sub-niche specific. I would only do that then. Otherwise, as you say, I think it's a waste of time, especially if you're trying to scale.
So really you found a need for mid to like large size businesses who just really didn't know social media. They just were doing a lot of things wrong, and that's where you stepped in.
Yeah, exactly.
So you also have a course that I want you to talk about, because you were like the OG, man. You were the person who had like the first Instagram course on the market. Was that inspired just because of these agencies doing things wrong, or is it just because you got so many DMs from people who needed help growing their page and they just really knew nothing about the algorithm and growing on Instagram?
Right. It's a combination of those two plus another reason. So the first one is people just asking me repeatedly things that I just said, I was just going to put into paper and that's it. The second is companies that didn't know how to do the things for their own. And I chose to do a course just to hand them over to them. Obviously not just pay for, otherwise a large company just buys your course for $500 and you never see them again. In which it's never the case either, because they always come back 6 months later with more questions. But anyway, so I had the course for companies on top of my consulting, never alone by itself. And the third reason is that I made my course so that anybody, regardless of their age or technological capabilities, would be able to easily understand how to navigate through the app. So that's why the third reason became just learning how to use the app from inside out, from the most obvious thing, which is how to open it, to the super in the stuff like within the system configuration, including jailbreaking and hacking the app so you can download content and whatever. That's another topic.
Yeah.
That's how and why I created the course. I wasn't the first person to build a course ever. Although I was certainly the best at the time. There was probably 15 people before. I remember Founders course. I remember Wolf Millionaires course. There was like a lynda.com website.
Oh, I remember the Linda one, and Millionaire Mafia, the one Ben Oberg did, I think, too. That was one of the first ones. Those were like the OG courses, man. Like, I remember those. Yeah, and they used to sell them all on Telegram everywhere, like pirated everywhere, man.
Yeah, they were everywhere, including mine. Piracy. Mine was before Millionaire Mafias and after Linda's. Linda's was probably one of the first courses I came across with. And they were literally like, to post a photo, just open the app, select the photo and post. And I was like, I want to know the real, intestines of Instagram. I really want to see what's inside. I want to figure it out inside out. I want to reverse engineer it. And I started, doing my research. I was Googling Instagram algorithm. There was absolutely nothing, even though there was like algorithm research papers by Instagram themselves. There was no algorithm courses teaching you anything, like literally anything. There was only, research papers from Instagram published anonymously or within their blog or, within private groups, but publicly or being sold, there was nothing to be found. And I was like, I want to be the first person to change that. And I'm talking about a course that took me literally 6 months to make. 6 months, every day for 6 months. I actually lost a personal relationship due to that course. So you can imagine how much time I was putting into that. I was, sleeping 4 a.m. every day, waking up 7 a.m. I put in a lot of hours into a course that ended up having 320 pages. So you can imagine how big it was. I discussed how to start your account on the right foot, like how to secure your account in case it's really valuable and you have like 5 to 10 fail safes in case you want to retrieve the account, how to get the account back if you get deleted, how to secure your account with your private information, your phone, a separate email rather than your login email, all the stuff that nowadays, most of it is common sense or just information you can Google out for yourself. But back then, this information was really limited, and I was the first person to go in depth into all of this, especially on a section of the course that was called the Instagram algorithm, how it works. I dissected the algorithm into 10 steps and essentially told people how I reverse engineer it and paired up with the research papers from Instagram themselves that I found. I put it all into paper and I had a 21-page PDF just from the algorithm, like nothing else. And it's very funny because when I wrote it, people thought I was inventing out all the information that I just made it out for myself. And it's funny because Facebook's engineers and developers, they have this unicorn system. That's the real name. That's unicorn system, and that system was used to essentially connect two people, A and B. Let's say user and account. Let's say you, Christian, on Instagram search tab, you went and looking for shoes. The unicorn system came and showed you the 10 most valuable accounts with shoes based on your preferences. So that's how the unicorn system.
We just call it interest-based targeting now. So like they show you based on interests that you've engaged with previously in your history, as opposed to like intent-based, which is like search.
Back then it was called unicorn, and people thought I invented a name, but it's actually, it was coined by Facebook. Now, back then, another coined term was goodness score. Most people are familiar with it, knowing it as trust score. But I don't know who came across that name, that name it trust score. It makes sense, but it's not the real name. The real name is goodness score. And I am the first person to ever write about it, literally. Yeah, I found some papers just mentioning the name occasionally, and saying like, yeah, it works to give your account like a rating. Period. There was nothing else to be found online. And I was the first person to ever talk about it. At first, I was laughed at because they were like, no, I don't think this can be possible. Of course, nowadays, it's like, 1,000 years ago, a guy telling the earth is round and everybody laughing. And nowadays, it's the other way. I don't see how the earth could not be round. So it's the same now. Now that the term has been morphed into trust score, if you're into Instagram marketing, there's a high chance that you have found the term somewhere, but I'm talking about 2016. You couldn't find anything at all about it. So when I released the information, half of the people were impressed. The other half were like, nah, man, you're just making this up to sell your guy. And I swear I wasn't. And the reason why people were skeptical about it is because I went so much into depth, kind of like Edward Snowden, like telling people exactly how much information Instagram took from you, not for spying on you, like tinfoil hat,
I got you.
Yeah,
to show you ads and stuff or try and monetize you, nothing like that. More so just to put the right kind of content in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. So leaving the conspiracy theories aside, which is another topic, Instagram is a business in which they only care that you stay within the app as long as you can during the day. They show you as many organic ads as they can during the time frame that you use the app. It's to their convenience to know as much as they can about you because they want to show you the right ads. So as it is to you. If you're going to be using the app and there's going to be ads, that at least you want to see ads that you may be interested in, right? If you're a regular user of the app and all the time you see like horses and veterinarians and animals and you're related to that, even the ads are bothering me because I can't relate to them.
The most severe instance of that is a while ago, I think Facebook got some lawsuits because women with abortions, or not abortions, they had miscarriages. And then they kept being shown like, baby stuff, toddler stuff, like for their kid, and their kid was miscarried. And like those ads, like they argued they cause physical harm. Like, could you imagine being Facebook and having to deal with that? Like, oh my God. I get both sides of it though. And I totally agree with you. Like they need to show like organic looking ads in order to keep people on the platform, because one, the advertisers, if they put irrelevant ads in front of the people, they're just not going to continue to spend on the platform. Two, people are just going to leave. They're going to get tired of it. People hate ads.
Yeah, exactly. It's an instance in which we have to yield a little in, because at the end of the day, the more advertisers on Instagram, the more the app will be around. If in 1 month Instagram runs out of advertisers, they're gonna shut down and everybody's gonna go nuts on it. So I don't necessarily like ads, but I know that the more healthy competition and the more advertisers and the better targeted ads, the more we will have Instagram around. So I don't mind suffering them. I don't mind like enduring them because I know they are to the general benefit of the community. So I'm okay with that. And if you're an advertiser like me, you're even better okay with that when you know that you're reaching people that will be interested in you and not flagging your ad like not interesting or spam or whatever, which is always bad. So it's always to the to the benefit of the community. That's my thoughts on that. But
you got a lot of this stuff straight from Instagram directly about the algorithm, right? Like I think you previously had mentioned to me a lot of this stuff you got off a Tumblr blog they used to have where they posted all this stuff, and they were super upfront about how ranking factors and the goodness score and just like how they place relevant content and ads in front of you.
Exactly. It was like their personal disclaimers on how the unicorn system was used, or how just essentially it worked. It was more like internal papers publicly available, although not interesting at all. So nobody ever called it or found about it. It was, I don't remember quite correctly, Instagram -engineering.tumblr.com, something like that.
You have the domain still memorized, and that's funny.
I don't think it's around anymore, especially since now so many people are trying to figure it out. I don't know if you remember last year, Instagram released a small paper, disproving false theories like shadow bans. Instagram themselves mentioned publicly that shadow bans were like nirvanas, they didn't exist. And I mean, it's subjective, right? Just because you say that it doesn't exist doesn't mean it doesn't exist. If you were Instagram's, CEO, you would tell what you think would be the most convenient to the general, wellness. So I don't know. What I found is the actual information before everybody jumped into learning. So I think that what I found was the closest to the truth. And what I told in this algorithm course is that there's a lot of things that the algorithm learns about you, of course, again, in order to show you the right type of ads, but some really spooky things that, again, are to your benefit, but probably most people would like to know that they are out there. And the basics will be like, yeah, I mean, it's obvious that if you follow an account that is about shoes, the algorithm will think that you like shoes. That's normal. I think a toddler would understand that. I think if you report a post, the algorithm will know, okay, this person doesn't like this kind of post. That's common sense. But what isn't common sense is that Instagram knows the content that you're browsing, and suddenly you stop at a photo longer than other. Instagram records that and like, okay, he's stopping this photo more. And this is that indicates when you are the content poster, they're like, okay, this has like material to going viral, because more people when scrolling are stopping longer on your post. So in your post goodness score, it starts raising, right?
Yeah.
In the other hand, in the person, their algorithm profile is being fed, it's being fed with information. Even if you don't like physically tap the like button, even if you don't like it, Instagram knows if you
stopped for a second. Yeah, just 1 second longer. And also people say that I think there was a study actually where Instagram said like they collect session data, including like they can almost predict exactly where you're staring based on your finger and scrolling movements, up to like a 95% confidence interval, which is like crazy. Like they know exactly where you're staring at on that image too. Like so they may not know like what qualitative factor makes that image have you stare at it longer, but they know the exact points based on your finger and scrolling movements, which is, I mean, that's insane, man. Like, I don't know if you know anything about photo recognition, but it's one of the most.
That's in the course.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things to code. Like, I have a buddy named Nick, and he's like, Nick took advanced calc classes at Stanford when he was in like middle school. He's crazy, like genius, smart. Photo recognition and all that. He's like, it's one of the hardest things you can possibly code. And Instagram they're the best at it, like out of any other company in the world.
They're so good at it. And you have to think about it in this way. Back in time, Instagram had, I think, 23 employees. That's even on the guide. So you can imagine how massive it was. And probably it has like 10,000 already.
What happened to your course? Because you can't buy it anymore. You said originally to me that you were with Vision Media, right? And you partnered and sold it. Then what happened?
So I stepped out of that company and I just continued selling the course on my own. And a couple of years later, my friend Jose Peña, he bought the course rights from me. And from then I have had nothing to do with it except just store it in my hard drive. That's it. I mean, it had really good days. It sold thousands and thousands of copies. Nowadays, even though it's obsolete in many cases, because I had to rewrite that course 3 times while I was making it. 3 times while it wasn't even finished, because during the time, live stories became, not live stories, live like video became a thing.
Yeah.
And during that time, doodling on stories became a thing. And during that time, many things came to be that I had to go back and actually, put a huge blank space and overwrite some place, because Instagram was changing so much back then. That's why my course went from like 50 to 320 pages. And even then I had to continue changing things over and over again. Nowadays, I'd say half of the content is outdated because of these changes. And I can very satisfyingly say the other half still nobody has ever copied. That's how much information there is. Half of that information will never become obsolete because simply nobody else has written about it, or essentially the algorithm will implement new things, but the essentials, the cornerstone of that will never change. And that's the issue with the course. that it got so big that I just, when I sold it, I had no interest in continuing it because most of the things were known already, and the other things in a way were too technical for the average the average person to even care about. So I just literally, stored the course, and I haven't done anything with it since then, rather than using it for sharing it with my private consulting clients and friends and family and just other marketers that are interested in reading it, obviously without sharing the actual information because I still have it copyrighted. But that's where it stayed at.
Okay. Man, you sold a course on IG. You've done like private consulting, selling
Yeah.
services. You've made money, shout outs, brand deals. Like, dude, you have done everything. What have you made the most money with? Because I'm sure a lot of people really just want to figure out what they can focus on. Because I have a lot of either agencies who really watch my stuff, as well as just people who are beginners and trying to get started, whether that's like growing accounts or actually getting clients. So for somebody who's just new, what way have you made the most?
I'd say consulting. It's a good thing because when you price it per hour, and companies with large budgets, you come into them, you're showing the value, or you can actually train their personnel. That's also a service that I do sometimes. I actually go in person and they fly me over to a place, and I personally train like a group of people. I mentor them. It's like an internship. It's 6 straight hours of learning. That's the most profitable because it's in mass to a private group of people, but in mass. And you're teaching 5 to 30 people at a time. You're in front of the blackboard, and you're explaining everything. And usually it's people that will have the energy straight 6 hours to catch up with all the information, because it is a lot of information. The average person growing a business and has 100 followers will not see the value or see why they should know so much, unless again there are large companies in which they can pay for the advice, and they want to train their marketers so they can retain as much information that you're giving them in pair with the course. But that's the most profitable because it's done in mass. Of course, selling a one-on-one like private hour of advice or whatever, it's always profitable. But if you're only doing it to one person, it's still 1 hour of your time. It's 1/24 of your day. So it's a lot of time. Selling shoutouts is profitable in the sense you're taking space within your feed, but it can take you 5 to 10 minutes to post it if it's not content that you produce. If it's content that you produce, you're probably going to charge 10 times more and it's going to take you 10 times longer, but that's a different case. Of course, more profitable, but way more effort, and you're spending, that's another thing.
Hours, dude.
I have
make it like hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I have my own content creation agency on parallel of the social media agency because, they go along. I have a client that could tell me, okay, I want you to post this photo of the phone case, again, going to this example. And I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. I would prefer that rather you send me the product and I make a video of it, because I know what my audience likes better, and I know that my content will be higher quality. And of course, that's always paid for. I wouldn't spend my gear on that. But that's another way to scaling in which you make the actual content for the companies. I'm fortunate enough that I've been hired by Lamborghini just this month to help them out with content as well. So
dude,
yeah, man, it's sick.
When are they going to send you the demo? Just kidding.
It's a really fun car, and that's an instance in which there's companies that are so big that sometimes you profit more from the content you get from it rather than when they're sending like what kind of payment they're giving you. Which is why I'm starting YouTube, because I'm shooting now so much content that I know that I could profit from directly with views rather than charging clients. There's so many people even nowadays that don't see the value in content creation, that they would just invite you over for free and pay for your expenses without a payment. And I think the trick in making money is not just staying on Instagram, but rather having, the trifecta, rather having all the essential social media apps. Again, because you may have a large audience on Instagram, but you can only monetize on YouTube if you only want to monetize through organic views and traffic, or if you want to have like a massive influx of traffic from TikTok. So I wouldn't say like you have to start with just one or make money from one, but rather having, I would say, preferably all those three. I think those are the three largest apps right now. So from one, you get establishment, from one, you get payments, from one, you get traffic. That's how I would pretty much say it. So again, with clients, it depends. Smaller and mid-sized clients will actually pay you more than large clients because brands like Lamborghini and Mercedes and Apple, they are so massive that even celebrities do it for free because they're so big. And where you're a guy with 1 million followers, when in that case, 1 million is nothing, you pretty much have nothing to negotiate with except having the content for you to profit elsewhere. So that's the agreement within some companies that I have done. Not everything is direct profit. Some of it is profiting later on from content creation, but that's another thing. You have to have a social media company and a content creation company in which you can extend your services and upsell your own services to the same people already. And that's to your benefit. You know that if you're selling a product, you're recommending a product, not only do you have to believe in your product, but you have to believe in the ad, the video of the product. Let me give you a quick example. I've had cases of clients coming to me paying for an ad on Explorer. And they're like, man, I only sold 5 books or 5 phone cases and whatever. And I told them, like, there is a lot of inputs in here in which something might go wrong. For example, your web server could have gone down from so much traffic. Another is maybe your PayPal, payment collector checkout page got disabled in that second. Maybe most of the people trying to buy didn't have PayPal and had a credit card and you didn't accept credit cards. And there is so many instances in which I am not responsible for that. That's again, not only content, but your consulting services come in which you analyze the client's pathway from finding the product on my page to checking out and receiving the actual product. So it all complements each other. Customer service, consulting, payment collection, content creation, and of course the traffic. So it's perfect. You do everything for yourself, and pretty much every service that the client will need, you are the one who's going to offer it. And if they're buying from you already, chances are you can bundle it and they will stay with you because you already know. So that's how I build my business. That's how I would recommend everybody to build their businesses, to implement as many services as they can. Of course, that they know that they're good at them. Otherwise, they won't go anywhere. But that's how I did it. As I got into companies and I found more faults, I'm going to create a department that works on these faults, and I'm going to upsell my services selling, I have a guy, or in my team, I have somebody that does it. Sometimes it is me, sometimes it's one of my, people that I outsource to, but every fault that I find in companies, I have a way to help them resolve that. I never go like, you should fix that by yourself. And I come back like, no, I'm like, you're doing this wrong. So if I'm bringing you 100,000 people from my reach and you haven't fixed your link or whatever, it won't go anywhere.
Yeah, or your website speed is slow or something. I don't know.
Also,
that's a really big one, bounce rates and things like that. But I couldn't agree with you more. Really being able to spread out on different platforms can help you build your brand. Just relating my own instance here, man, like I have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook group. I have a personal Instagram profile. If one of those fell off, my business wouldn't be gone either. Like I still have something. And it's happened to me before. Like I had a Facebook group that was like almost 16K people and it went away and I got banned. And
I remember.
Yeah, I was making 5K like a month from that, dude. Like I've had Instagram pages where I'm making a killing. and then banned or deactivated. Some of them you get back, you know, some of them you wouldn't. Sometimes you get the account back and it's never even the same. It was just getting a ton of traffic before and it's just like really seems damaged, you know.
Yeah.
But when it comes back to you, you'd say the most money you've made is really consulting with people as well as upselling people from shout outs, just basic like, hey, I'm going to post your picture, your ad from 5 to 10 minutes, to actually like, hey, I'll post your ad for you and I'll help you be able to get more sales with this traffic, because there's other things that you need to do and implement in order to just really get the best results as possible. And you don't just leave it and point it out to them. You actually say, hey, here's the solution. And you identify that problem. Maybe you dig a little, you make them hurt, you know, like you let them know that they're missing out, and then you just hit them with that solution and the price and close them.
Exactly. And you have to be like stone cold when you're doing this, because when you sugarcoat these things to your clients, they're gonna feel like you're a little weak, and they're saying like, no, we have an in-house marketer that takes care of that. And at the end of the day, I tell them, I don't care if he's your cousin, he's not making you enough money because of this or that reason. I am the one that can make that happen. So you have to be really direct. In business in general, just as an Instagram, you're not necessarily there to make friends when you're going to make money. And with clients, you know, there is this saying like, you have to give a client that whatever they want, and that's not always the case with online marketing, in which there is a pathway in between going from a follower finding you to making making a sale. So you have to be like really specific, really direct, you know, cut the BS and just go straight to that. And that's it. I mean, no hard feelings. You have to go straight for it. And most times people will appreciate your stone cold honesty, and they'll be like, you're the first person ever to talk to me like I'm an adult. I've had people telling me that. And that's the thing. You have to be straightforward with that, because chances are, if you're starting a consulting agency, chances are the potential client, the prospect you're reaching to, has already talked to 10 to 100 people already. And most of them will be lowball or go with, offering cheap prices, or offering results twice as much under, not giving enough results. And hence, a client comes to you already hurt, sometimes not believing you're worth what you're worth, or not believing you can deliver twice the results the last guy did, because they've been hurt in the past. And that's something else you have to tell a client, you know. It's just like a new relationship. It's not your fault what the person did previous to you, but rather that you're the first person to change that for good. So it's just like a relationship. You have to be there, you have to be freaking, you have to be honest, straightforward, and a little hard. It's to their benefit rather than making friends. You'd rather tell them, I'm gonna make you an extra digit in your bank this year. Would you rather have a friend or making that? Like, I can't be both all time. So that's how it works.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I couldn't agree more. And I think with the in-house teams, which a lot of people experience issues with, is they don't want to speak up, even if they do know better, because that person pays their paycheck, you know? And the thing is, like, if it's a consultant like you or me, it's like, I don't work for them. I'm working with them on a per project or per month basis because somebody wanted to bring me in, and I'm not there to make like friends or be super cool with them. If this is my job, I gotta provide. Yeah, because
exactly.
I mean, that's what they're paying you for, and that's what they want. So you got started on IG like way back in 2015. I mean, even earlier, you got on as a user in 2013. And you did mention how easy it was to grow back then. Do you think it's just way harder to grow now? And is it too late to start? Specifically on Instagram, should other people focus more on TikTok as a platform? Or, I mean, should they start on Instagram?
Right. Well, I'm going to answer the latter question first. I would recommend jumping on all platforms at the same time rather than being more specific about it. But now that question is gone, I would say, I have this saying, I say it all the time, the best time to start is yesterday. And I wish that applied to me on Instagram and YouTube. I wish I started Instagram in 2011, 2012. I wish I started YouTube 6 months ago. Otherwise, I would be somewhere else. There is no right time to do anything rather than today, in the moment, with whatever you have. Criticism is harsh. Sometimes you want to buy a better camera before you start blogging. You want to have some better photo editing skills before you start publishing. You want to have a master's in negotiation, whatever, I don't care. And the truth is, you can only learn to do so in field by getting no's by an answer and by getting neglected and rejected and turned down, that's only so normal. I get rejected sometimes, even after somebody comes to me and like, no, I changed my mind. That's fine. But what you have to understand is you always have to assume responsibility for whatever no's you get. If you get a no, you probably deserve that because I mean, you fucked up at something in some scenario, and you have to learn what it was in order for not to for it to not happen again. On Instagram, the same thing happens. You have to start in the moment you feel that should be the actual start, because if you want to start when you get to a certain point or whatever, that time will never come. I guarantee that. If you're waiting for the right strategy, for the right person to come into your life, it's not gonna happen. And when that person comes and Instagram is gone, you're gonna be like, oh man, bad timing. It wasn't bad timing. This time to start was yesterday. You will figure out everything in time. Nobody was born being perfect. Nobody even comes near perfect, never in life and anything. So just pretty much start and get to learn with trial and error. And if you can get advice from bigger people asking for advice, even if 99 times they will tell you, no, I don't give free advice, maybe you can invest in some advice. That's also okay. Again, as I said before, it's okay to pay for people's knowledge that they learned by trial and error in a decade rather than trying to get stuff for free. So, I mean, the people like you and I that have worked our butts off to sweating with it and getting that, we deserve to be paid for what we know for, because it has cost us years of our lives. I mean, the very fact that we're holding our phones causes bruises in our fingers. I mean, my finger is like...
Dude, I'm going to have like... I already have like lightweight carpal tunnel syndrome. I've been diagnosed with it from my doctors and stuff. Dude, my fingers too, man. Whether it's the keyboard, the phone. Plus, I just think this is our business, Our business is Instagram. And if somebody really does want to like get a mentor and not pay them, I honestly think one of the best ways is to reach out to them and offer to pay them, at least at first. My mentor, I offered to pay him like $500 to $1,000 to spend like 1 freaking hour with me at one point, and he never did. But every now and then he would just spend 5 minutes and give me some tips, and like those tips made a huge difference.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong in trying to get free information from most people. Sometimes, as I said, you will get information just like you did, and you started just like I did and I started, and we're thankful to the people that got us started. But again, if you try finding free information online, chances are it's not quality information. When I got mentored by my guy and he never charged me a dime, I remember the first time I sold a shout out, I actually tried sending him the money and said, this is the byproduct of what I have learned from you. And he was like, I don't need that money. That's peanuts to me. And he wasn't like trying to prove anything to me. He was just like, I'm happy to having helped you, and that's all I need to know. Just as long as you do the right thing and you won't throw the towel in 6 months and you will be gone from there, I'll be happy that I have spent my time mentoring you. And that's the thing. When you're a mentor, you want clients, you want students that actually learn something and implement it. Of course, that recommend. You don't want somebody to transfer you $500, $5,000, and you'll have your money, but if you don't feel like you mentored him or her properly and that you earned that money and they will do something useful with their lives afterwards, again, that's not character. Just like I said, choosing the right sponsors. I don't mentor just anybody if I don't feel that they will actually pay attention into that. Because there is a lot of people with spare cash that will literally just pay you and they're like, yeah, oh, hold on, I'm watching things or whatever. And they're like, it's not only your money, what you're earning, it's your time. Just by you and I talking right now, we're using our eyes and everything in us, our bodies, our time is counted, is limited. Just like cameras have an amount of clicks until they get broken, just like cars have a mileage before they are,
dead,
discarded.
Wear and tear.
Just like computers have, I think, 5,000 hours of backlight before they have to be sent into service. Same things happen with our eyes. We can only stare at screens so much until we either go blind or we need glasses. So I would rather go blind after making $50 million because that's a fact. You and I will go blind at some point from staring at screens so much. That's already a fact. There's no way we're changing that. But the thing is, if I know that I'm sacrificing my eyesight for that, I'm gonna charge what I think my eyesight is worth. And I hope this advice helps people. It's literally your lifespan. It's a trade of your time that you won't get back for a person trying to save the time on what it took you to learn. So that's why I'm always suggesting, raise your prices. Don't lower yourself in the community. The competition gets hurt from that. Everybody gets hurt from that. We deserve to get paid more. And it's literally our life. Just by working with a client that's been is paying you $1,000 a day on consulting, maybe you rejected somebody who's going to pay you 10 times that money. It doesn't matter. Again, it's character. If he already paid you and the other guy's like, I'm sorry, even if he's a smaller client, he came to me first. I'm doing everything in order. But that's what the person should realize, the client that you're mentoring, that you are literally choosing to spend your time, which will never come back to you, on him or her. So, it's something useful to know how to value your worth. It's actually your health you're putting into your business, in any business.
Yeah, agreed. So I guess you kind of answered this, but just to, I guess, finish it up and close, what would be your best tips for beginners? I definitely think I heard you say raise your prices because you're sacrificing time, your eyesight, our fingers, dude. Like,
what I gotta pay for that carpal tunnel, man.
Oh yeah, man. And like, this is my last year of, my dad has like the most amazing insurance money you can buy. And I'm lucky that I was covered till 26, and I'm going to be 26 soon. So I'm going to have to pay for insurance. Like,
thank you, bro.
Yeah. So any other tips that you just want to give a beginner before, I guess we call it close?
Yeah. So whenever you're starting on Instagram or just pretty much any other platform, always do your 110% on what you're giving people. As in any business, you will first put money into it, then you will pretty much go flat without earning, but also neither spending. And after a time where, it's been a year or maybe 10, depending on the business, you will see profit. That's normal in any business. There is no course to quantum leap that it doesn't exist. You will put in the effort. There is no shortcut to success. And the same thing on Instagram, you have to give something that people haven't seen before. You can't be just one of other pages. Did you know there is over 13,000 pages with 1 million followers or more?
I did not, no.
13,000. You think I'm special? No, by no means. Maybe the name favors me a little, that I have more branding than others, but I'm still one of 13,000 accounts, probably even more as we speak. That how can we compete with that? There is probably 1 million travel accounts, and I'm just speaking of that because that's my specific niche.
Dude, in the travel niche, it's the worst. Everybody just doesn't, there's no creativity. Like, but sorry, continue on. Like,
No. Actually, you're totally fine. And I'm going to focus on the point that you just mentioned. I'm not going to speak names, but there is accounts with 5 to 10 to 15 million followers in the travel niche that, regardless of how much money they make or how much they influence people, they still make typos, grammatical errors. And when you have 15 million followers, I'm sorry, you can't afford typos, period. You can't. You're not a guy with 1,000 followers. You have 15 million. You can't afford typos. You can't afford that your link is wrong. You can't afford that you misspelled a location, that instead of, I don't know, you're talking about an island that was colonized 200 years ago, and you said 100 years ago. You can't do that. You have to double check the spelling. You have to double check the facts. It's not a race. Literally, it's not a race to being the first one. And I see this all the time with tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, whatever. Everybody, with the recently death of
Kobe
Bryant. Everybody's rushing to being the first to cover something. And I understand why people do it, but it's something that you have to see as professionally done. And that's what's going to make you different to other people. Even if you're a travel account with 10 followers, but dude, you're giving me the geolocation of the place. You're giving me a fact of the place. You're giving me something more than a page with 15 million followers. I will see more value in a page with 10 followers. Because most pages, travel or non-travel niches, they just repost literally to the very text. And
Or
I've seen it a lot
what's
of
the most
times.
common thing, like tag a friend you travel here with or something like
Yeah, man, I have I've had instances. So I used to shout out myself a lot before. So on Explorer, I used to just say under the caption, just follow Explore for more or follow my personal, try and explore for more. Every day on my personal, I get shout outs from people that accidentally reposted me with the caption. I'm like, okay, I don't mind. That's how much people don't care for that. I mean, if you don't see this business, you can do whatever you please. But if you want to build a career on this, you have to put attention to every detail. If you're going to post a picture of a car, let's say you're into the car niche and you want to give more value, say how many horsepower it has, say how, the MPG on a car is, go into detail into what other car profiles aren't saying. It doesn't really cost you more than a 3-minute Wikipedia search to say something different about the company, and that will already make you different. But of course, you have to give the real information that you can. You always have to just to check your sources and whatever, because again, just like if you're sponsoring a wrong product or something and you're saying, oh man, I accidentally mentioned the wrong location, and I actually got a follower that tried going there and he was like, man, I went there and the place wasn't there. Like literally people will try to blame for it or even lose trust in you. I've been fortunate enough to have followers sending me pictures from a place that they were inspired to go there because of me. And that's when you truly understand the power of social media, because somebody spent thousands of dollars on going on a place in which you recommend. Again, that's a good thing, but if you don't pay enough attention, that's a bad thing. Somebody could buy a car based on misinformation that you spread, literally. So again, just if you're trying to build a niche on Instagram, always give more information, always give the right information, make sure to give more than the other person. Always do 100%, 110% more, and I'll guarantee you get somewhere faster. I did this with a friend of mine. His name is Waden. He started a travel account, and I told him, look, grab all these repost pages, repost their content, but use some hashtags that I use, and always give a fact about each of the islands that you're talking about. Always give a fact. And he's had, I don't know, like thousands of followers since we had that call, because people are telling him, dude, I'm learning from your page. It's not just a pretty picture page. I'm learning. It's like a tiny Wikipedia within the page. And that's where people come back to you, because you're the only one putting in the time to do that.
I couldn't agree more, man. And actually, I know Waden from my Facebook group.
Yeah, that's the one.
So 110%, the little things matter, and just go that extra mile and extra step to really provide value, whether that's like a fact or something different and interesting and unique about just the place or location when it comes to the travel niche example. To finish up, everybody, if you guys are interested, John actually has a YouTube channel, which will be the first link in the description. So make sure you go check that out, because he's got so much awesome content coming. Already subscribed. But do you have any other special offers you just want to give my audience, or anything that where can people reach out to you if they're interested in consulting or anything like that?
Yeah, well, I don't really offer discounts or bundles within my consulting, but I'm welcoming anybody who's interested in scaling their business or learning the inside out of Instagram that you won't find elsewhere, or you have 100%, 99% of your business figured out, except you can't figure the other 1%, which nobody else will tell you. I am that marketer. So if you guys are interested, just come to me or shoot me a DM on Explorer. Just my email will be probably somewhere within your profile or my YouTube channel. I don't mind.
I'll put it in the description when you give me all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, pretty much anybody who wants to take their business to the next level and they want to take it seriously, I'm the one guru who will make the difference. I hate that word, but everybody uses it. The only thing I could say is you have to work with somebody who has the proof of what they've done.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having you here, John. I'm sure everybody who watches this is going to get some tremendous value from it. And it was just also really cool to hear your story, brother.
Yeah, appreciate, man, for you having me here, and I'll see to inviting you to my blog one of these times. I'm sure we can meet up in the US at some point, or maybe I don't know, we can
Oh
travel
yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I travel all the time. So we'll absolutely meet up. All right.
Absolutely, man.
Peace.